Nestor, welcome in.
Hey, it's always good to be in. How are you?
I am well, sir. How about yourself? It's always good to hear from you. It's always good to look at your Twitter feed and see what you're up to.
Well, there's always things going on, and wait till next week. I've been talking about race and protests and riots and police brutality. I've been doing that all day as part of Baltimore Positive. We just had an unbelievable the next couple of days here on WNST. I think you're really going to enjoy the depth and the passion of the kind of conversations we've had. Whether it's Ben Jealous, we had Tim Tootin on, Luke Broadwater, who won a Pulitzer and just got a job with the New York Times, and who brought down Mayor Pugh, Reverend Al Hathaway, a guy named Dr. Thomas Abd, who talked about changing the way we police, DeRay McKesson, who is the leader of the Black Lives Matter movement, and Barry Williams, a longtime Park and Recs Council person for Baltimore County. So I just had this unbelievable conversation all day about where we are. And, the Colin Kaepernick things come up. Sports has come up in so many ways, leadership, togetherness, and sports being the place for most of our lifetime since Jackie Robinson, where, black people and white people in sports, this has been going on forever, right? Like, a lot of times I would think for young people in Baltimore, especially during formative ages, sports is one of the places we became integrated and played together and played on same teams together. I find it fascinating that I'm downtown here in 2020 and we're still having this debate. And I've literally been having it all day, and I'm very compelled and energized by people trying to talk this thing through and make the world a better place. I know you and I had that conversation a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, it is. And a lot of things have come up. We saw in the last 24 hours Drew Brees get vilified for stating his position. And
Dennis, I woke up this morning and Ed Reed at 5 a.m. I'm brushing my teeth, screaming at Drew Brees in my bathroom on the phone. And I'm like, the hell happened yesterday? What are we doing? We're Ed Reed screaming at Drew Brees, right?
Well, because you got a guy saying that, kneeling for the flag, it's not for him. He's got a right to say that. I'll defend his right. Don't have to agree or disagree with the guy, right? But if for him to get bashed, then, let's not be hypocritical here.
Well, we're all doing revisionist history, and history revises itself all the time, because I can promise you, Dennis, and this is something I admit freely, I have changed my mind on issues throughout the course of my life at various points. I don't think anyone would call me a flip-flopper. You know what I mean? I don't change beliefs when the wind blows. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a series of things, and me growing up in Archie Bunker's Dundalk in the 1970s, me not having a black friend or knowing anyone black until I was the first day I walked into high school in 1982. All of these things make you who you are and where you are, and things change. And certainly for Colin Kaepernick, 3 years ago, we had emptied out our stadium for 2 years. It cost me a couple $1,000s that I couldn't give my tickets away, and I had 3 or 4 sponsors literally call me the Monday after Wembley. They were mad at me. They were mad at the Ravens. They were mad at black players. They were mad at everything. And I had sponsors. All of this, now here we are 3 years later, and I see people maybe looking at things a different way. Maybe Freddie Gray made them look at things a different way. Maybe the way they voted, or maybe something's happened in their life. I certainly look at leukemia and cancer and bone marrow transplants differently than when my wife had it, than before she had it. I think time and things change us, and situations change us, and how we feel about things. And, that's part of me considering myself a liberal soul, is that I am open to, maybe you can make me change my mind. I mean, certain things you're not going to make me change my mind about, but I am willing to have that conversation. And I think that more than anything in 2020, it really is about, I've done sports radio here for 30 years, taking opinions on all sorts of things and Monday morning quarterbacking and whatever. Having an opinion and having a well-founded, intelligent, thoughtful conversation, I live for that. It's how I've made my living, Dan,
Well, what the flag means different things to different people, Nestor, and that's and to me, we need to be respectful of that, regardless of your viewpoint. And Drew Brees, with his history of giving back to the community, just gave $5 million earlier this year, donated to that community. And whether he chooses to stand or kneel, doesn't make me look at him differently as a human being.
But it also gives Ed Reed the right to call him a sucker, which he did many, many times in 45 seconds, I guess, right?
Okay, well, he knows him that well. But I can't call him a sucker because his actions show me a very compassionate, loving, giving human being, anything but a sucker.
Well, this argument will continue out on the Twitter, but the people that told me many years ago in many ways and as recently as last night, stick to sports, shut up, stick to sports. I don't like what you're saying. I don't believe what you're saying. Turn the channel then. You know what I mean? Or come back later. Maybe you'll like what I think about the Ravens. Maybe I'll hate the Steelers later and we'll have something in common, right? All of that. And even my relationship with Mike Tomlin, for me, the notion that I would ever be friends with the Steelers coach is just not something that would have been in my vernacular. I mean, I said to because my wife and I had a conversation, and I know I've talked to you about my Tony Robbins thing. Probably the hardest thing I have in my life, my biggest challenge after spending a week up all night and every day with Tony Robbins was forgiveness. It's a special color on my chart because I struggle with it. You know what I mean? I struggle with being wronged intentionally, repeatedly, and finding forgiveness in that. It is a human weakness that I feel like it's a strength to not let you do me wrong again, right? But the forgiveness part of it, and finding that for everybody with the Don Henley song, right? Getting down to the heart of the matter, been trying to forgiveness, even if you don't love me anymore, right? And trying to find that the handshake when I still struggle with it all the time, and finding all of that for all of us, in some sort of compassionate way to say, I was wrong about that. I'm going to step up and say I was wrong about that. I've changed my mind, or I haven't changed my mind, or I can agree to disagree, or I can just block you from my page. Whatever. We have a whole bunch of different ways to deflect all of that, but true forgiveness and truly saying, I'm over that. I said to my wife, I said, you want to know where I really have had true forgiveness? She said, well, tell me, because we talk about this a lot, I said, I had true forgiveness for the Indianapolis Colts and Bob Irsay. Dennis, the day he died, I called the hospital and called the wing where he died and made somebody tell me on the live radio that he died. I mean, I did some things that I'm not proud of. You know what I mean? Like, 22 years later, things you did when you were 28 that when you're 51 you wouldn't do, right? And with the Colts, when I got off the planes in 03, 4, 5, 6, I got married in 03. My wife would say to me, why do you go to the Combine? You hate Indianapolis. You hate the Colts store. You hate the fans that wear the Colts. You get off the plane and you get upset being in Indianapolis. Why do you go? And, at some point, and I remember when it was in the middle of the Super Bowl week, I penned this long, long piece about being in Indianapolis, watching how happy it made people there that the Colts were there, how happy that the Super Bowl was there, how happy Peyton Manning had made them, and that we got our own team. We had our own girlfriend. We had our own wife. We had our own parade. We had a parade before they had a parade. I love to point that out. I found the video of it a couple weeks ago. And I decided to work on forgiveness. And part of that was Jim Irsay sitting down very magnanimously with me for an hour and a half down in Orlando and sitting and talking to me in an interview that I've never shared with anybody. I did it for a book that I never wrote. So I have an hour of Jim Irsay talking to me about leadership. And he was kind to me. The Colts people, and I'm like, why am I still so pissed off? Why am I waking up in January in Super Bowl? And this is after Billy Cundiff missed a kick, then, right? This is 10 days after Billy Cundiff missed a kick. I just decided that day I was going to find God and just whatever, find my inner. I'm not going to be mad about this anymore. I'm just it's costing me too much to hold that in my heart. You know what I mean? So I let it go. And I don't know where that's going to happen for some people in my life who've wronged me, or some things that have wronged me, or some topics that I don't feel good about, or grudges you're going to hold, or whatever that's going to be. But I'm just going to give you that, because I know you still have angst toward Indianapolis, and maybe one day you'll let it go. We've talked about this, but forgiveness and change. I think that is the lesson of this for me, is that we're all capable of finding some change, even if it's just a little bit, just a little opening to understanding Drew Brees, understanding Colin Kaepernick, just a little bit more. Maybe maybe Ed Reed will understand Drew Brees a little bit more, not to call him a sucker. Maybe
that's exactly right. I think Colin Kaepernick needs to understand Drew Brees just as a reverse. Drew Brees can't be afraid to speak his mind. People can't.
Drew Brees can say to Colin Kaepernick, "Why are you picking the anthem to do that? Why during the
exactly right.
Drew Brees could say you could do because that's going to have the most impact.
Okay.
And I'm taking a knee to pray for my country, right? Like literally, I'm taking. I'm a different religion. My religion is I kneel to pray. You stand to pray. Does that make it if you come into my church though, you kneel, right? Or you go into your church, we bow. I go to Japan. I don't shake hands with people there. I bow because that's what they do in Japan, right? Like, to some degree, we all need to figure that out, right? Literally.
Yep, no doubt about it. Hey, look, as I mentioned at the start of the show, I'd like this to be the United States of America versus the divided states of America. I think as Americans, we need to come together, be respectful, and agree to disagree agreeably and have healthy dialogue that results in true change and true action versus just more lip service.
I think every person of color would say, Dennis, I agree with you when all of you agree that a police officer putting his knee on the neck of a black man and strangling him for 9 minutes in front of witnesses who could not
of any man. I mean,
of any right.
To me, I take color out of the equation. That's just for me. That was wrong. That was hideous. Nobody can endorse behavior that like that.
Well, then why is he not going to jail, and why aren't they going to jail, and why haven't they gone to jail in the past for doing the same thing? And I'll leave it at that, and this is where little drum roll. We'll tune in again on Monday when Nestor and Dennis get together.
We'll continue it, man. We'll continue
it.
Hey, I appreciate your time. I appreciate and respect your viewpoint.
Well,
always.
You got it all out of me today, right? I mean, we just, I've been laying it out since 7 o'clock this morning. I emptied it out. I'm empty now, and I'm ready to go get some ice cream.
The reason why you and I can have this dialogue is because of our veterans, because they have died, so guys like you and I can have free speech, which is something that they don't have in other countries. We can't have this dialogue in China. We can't without being persecuted. So God bless America.
You can't have it at the front door of the White House right now without having the tear gas come at you either. But we'll save that for next week.
If you're peaceful, you can. But anyway, we'll talk.
There was all peace there. It was all peace.
We'll talk.
All right.
Thanks a lot. There he goes. Nestor J. Aparicio here at 1570 AM WNST. We'll take a quick break. Come back on the flip side of the pillow.